Hello, my name is Kiriko. I'm a co-host of the Celebrating Cinema podcast. And usually I'm the cool, reserved, slightly underwhelmed type of character, except for when it comes to Twilight. Twilight makes me the squeakish, high-pitched voice, screaming type of gal. And I hope that I'm not the only one here tonight who shares that feeling. Can we get Edward Cullen on the script? Thank you. So, the release of Twilight in 2008 marked for me a moment of intense obsession, which is a feeling that I never really had after that. And what happened was, week after week, me and my high school girlfriends would go to the cinema and literally scream when we would see Edward Cullen in Twilight. And it was a moment that I also decided that this hot, mysterious, and slightly problematic, and also potentially very dangerous character by the name of Edward Cullen was all that I was looking for in a man. And it's at the cinema when we went for these special moments, which maybe some of you who have seen this movie a couple of times know. It's that moment with the Ray-Ban Wayfarers when he puts his arm around her shoulder, or it's the skin thing, like the most glamorous thing ever, or the fact that he creeps up to her bedroom at night and just like watches her in her sleep without her knowing. It's like, I guess I just didn't quite know what toxic codependency was at the time. But anyway, it's clear to me at least that this film has had a huge impact on my life. And I would say in retrospect, I have only come to understand this a little bit better. And I was thinking about, preparing this talk, and then I thought, maybe I can just show you in the next slide, Tom. So these are 3 photos of the 3 boys that I dated when I was in high school. So it's or their hairdos, I would say. It's they were just Dutch wannabe versions of Edward Cullen, and I totally fell for it. And they were also the mysterious, I don't really like to talk type of guys. And I just envisioned my life in folks Washington with them. The reason why I'm saying this is that I know that I'm not the only one who has lived through this experience, because either you were me falling for the weird, mysterious hairdo nerd, or you were the guy with this hairdo being mysterious. That's just the way this film has impacted our life. And for those of you who are here tonight and who are seeing this film for the first time, get ready to learn a lot about the people who you spent time with 15 years ago, because a lot will become clear to you. It's the reason why we fell for the wrong men, but it's also, for me at least, the reason how I fell in love with going to the cinema. Okay, let's watch the film, and I'm super excited to also talk with you guys after the podcast. Oh, sorry, after the screening. So please stay for the podcast recording. Okay, enjoy.
You're impossibly fast and strong. You gotta give me some answers.
I'd rather hear your theories.
I have considered radioactive spiders and kryptonite.
It's all superhero stuff, right? What if I'm not the hero? What if I'm the bad guy?
I know what you are. Your skin is pale white and ice cold. You don't go out into the sunlight.
Say it out loud. Say it.
Vampire.
Are you afraid?
No. This isn't real. This kind of stuff just doesn't exist.
It does in my world.
Kiriko, let's start with you. first thoughts. What was it like to watch it again for the first time, and how long?
I think the last time I watched it is like around 5 years ago. I've rewatched it like every couple of years or so. But every single time I rewatch it, I make sure to not watch it, too often. But it's something very much like psychotherapy. You just watch it and understand so much of your behavior. And also, in the moment, you're able to sort of reanalyze yourself and what's it called? EMDR type of experience.
Exposure theory.
Yes, very much so. Yeah.
To see Edward again.
Very special, very special. But also it's quite boggling to me how, as a teenager watching this, I never for one single moment realized that his behavior is so crazy and scary. A man who continuously pushes you away is, I learned now a bad thing, but as a child, I never realized this.
The lion falling in love with the lamb is actually not a good thing. That's what you're saying?
No. I mean, at the time, it was the most romantic thing that could happen to you. And I totally fell for that idea.
Yeah, I think all of us watching it was a very different experience now than it was then. I don't think we were all laughing quite the same.
Can I just give a shout out to everybody in the room, because watching it with you was like an emotional roller coaster. So maybe just like a big applause for everybody that's still here with you guys. It was so much fun. Like the first time I saw this film was actually, in high school, and I was just with a lot of guy friends, and we always thought that we were too cool to watch Twilight because it seemed like a chick thing, and we were making like so much fun of it that after a while we said to each other like, dude, we're like dunking on this film and we don't even know what it's about. That's kind of crazy as well. So we decided to just rent it and watch it, and we're like, it's actually a pretty good movie. And that was it. It didn't really make that big of an impact. So revisiting it, it's funny because Catherine Hardwicke, the director, when we interviewed her at the end, it was Elliot, Tom, and me having a conversation with her. This is an insane story. At the end, she was like, okay, boys, well, tell me something. Did you actually, after watching this film, get the Edward haircut to get more girlfriends? And we were like, no. But apparently that was like a massive thing. So just seeing it now in the cinema was perplexing and amazing. And I feel like I'm activating a part of my teenage self again. It was,
I think Tom recently watched the film for the first time, and I see a slight change in your hairdo. How has this film impacted you recently?
I'm a bit older than you two, and for me, Buffy the Vampire Slayer was my jam, and not Twilight.
Okay.
So I think I saw parts of this film throughout the years, and by doing that, I saw it in its entirety. I had thought, and then rewatching it now, it's hard to describe. So I am the programmer of Lab 111, and when I started working here 6 years ago, when they hired me, I said one thing. In 5 years, I will screen Twilight as a cult movie, and it's gonna sell out. And everybody here said, you were fucking crazy. Tomorrow, we're screening the Rocky Horror Picture Show, and this screening almost felt like what we're gonna do tomorrow, except for all the rice throwing and shit that we'll do with the Rocky Horror. But I mean, this was like a really nice communal, cringe, but also heartfelt experience with you all here. I really had the feeling that when I said that like 5 years ago, it was because I had experienced Twilight through a female friend of mine who was really into Twilight, and I think she went on the entire binge of Twilight and then to Pride and Prejudice and Zombies and 50 Shades just to see what was going on.
It's a pipeline.
Really.
It's a pipeline.
Yeah, it's a pipeline. Yeah, and she always said to me like, "There's something so incredibly honest with, especially this film, that Catherine, when we interviewed her, actually, I tried to sort of ask her like, did she want to make it this? It is quite corny." And she was just really animated about the fact that she was making a film about teen love and wasn't really even thinking about this sort of cult following that it would get. it was so she made it from a very sort of honest obsession with teen romance in a way. I guess she was like, oh yeah, this is a film that I made because I wanted to have people to feel like the first time they fell in love, and that is in there, but it's also so incredibly turned up to 11 that there are moments where you're like, whoa, what is happening here?
But I liked it about a lot about films in general, and it's like this is 2008, right?
Right.
That's where So it's at this critical juncture of mainstream films as well. This is the year that the first Iron Man gets released, which is like I think guilty of many crimes in film. Mostly it's because there's like these Marvel movies, they don't play sincerity anymore. Like all the emotions, all the emotional connection that you can have with the story is always downplayed by sarcasm and irony. There's like this irony-filled distance in all the relationships between people in all of these movies. Like there's people married in those films and you don't even realize, like they could be bantering like they're like cousins or just friends from high school or something. There's like no emotional connection. And then you have a film like this.
This is very different than
And
that.
that's very different. And it's like, it plays its emotions right on its sleeve, but like in such a heartfelt, extreme way that you do kind of have to accept them and feel them as well. Like it's wrong, you know, but you do kind of like, you get that tummy feeling from the movie
you
as
heard
well.
the applause when they arrive at the school, right? Which is like such an iconic scene.
So
There was also
iconic.
some weird daddy issues with everybody cheering.
There are some very there are a lot of parent issues in this film. I mean, what is the deal with her mother constantly wanting? She
I'm
wants
gonna
to
say
experience young sex again through
I'm-
her daughter or something.
I'm just gonna say, this is not a movie about daddy issues. This is what happens when your mommy leaves you, man.
No, but I meant with Carlisle. There was a lot of applause for
Oh,
him as
yeah.
well.
He's just a
I
hottie.
mean,
Yeah.
Before we come to you and ask what your experience was to watch it again, maybe we can discuss why we chose Twilight as our first film to show and discuss.
yeah. Well, one of the things was what I just said. Like, I really wanted to screen it after all these years. But our podcast is very much about, even though we hadn't really discussed that when we started out, like, how many episodes ago? This is what you should know. Trivia for the producer.
This will be our 25th episode.
This will, anniversary time. It ended up being very much about nostalgia. And I think the experience that we had here is also very much about nostalgia, right? I mean, many of, I made the joke earlier, many of the women in this room used to be girls and had experienced...
Where's this going, Tom?
I
It's
know.
like-
Well, so you
Careful.
can hear me do this on the podcast every week. But it's this is what people love, me digging my own grave. You
Go
want to
on, go
explain
on.
what the podcast is about, Hugo?
Well, no, I feel like we're all getting, like, we've all grown up with the nostalgia of our parents and the older generation. And it's a distinctly unique experience to go through the culture that you've been brought up with and experience nostalgia for it, because we're becoming older, we're becoming more affluent, so we can buy stuff that reminds us of the good old days. But culture has changed a lot as well. Like I said about that irony build thing, like a film like this is such a weird time capsule. It's amazing. It's incredible. It aged so badly and so good at the same time. It's very powerful. Like the music, oh my God. Like the guitar music.
It
is-
could be like a music video for Linkin Park,
Yeah.
like the entire
Yeah.
thing.
So I think there's something that to experience that feeling that the nostalgia factory basically is happening in real time for your lifetime is daunting and weird, but it's also kind of fun, but it's also kind of fucked up, and that's what we've often discussed. You know how the movies that we saw when we were young made us, and then we changed, and then we want to revisit those movies, and it learns us something about ourselves. Here we go. That's why I really loved your intro as well, because you know, in our podcast, we often kind of also try to wear our emotions on our sleeve and use film to talk about life as well. Like the first time we met was during the fucking pandemic, and we were like immediately discussing all the issues with the first episode. So I'm very grateful for like your boyfriend collage and your like teenage memories. But to come back to that, was it weird to revisit this film and also give this introduction with an audience and
No,
share that?
no, because I think for the first time in my life with Twilight, I've had the experience that the decisions that I made based on watching this film as a teenager were shared because I felt like I was
You
in
felt
a
seen.
no, I felt as if I was part of a community because I was in a room full of people who have the same, I wouldn't say trauma. What is like the positive word for trauma? Like like we have the same childhood to some extent, and therefore also, I don't know, a shared taste in men is something very intimate, I think, or at least that's what I felt while watching this film with you guys.
You also said it was sort of your first window into loving film
Yeah.
in your intro. Could you perhaps
yeah.
speak a bit more about that?
Well, there's a thing which I've very often mentioned in our podcast before. It's just that I've sort of closed myself off to emotions when it comes to watching films. I've never cried watching a movie. It just never happens.
And Tom and I cry all the time, by the way.
we do. Yeah, we do.
Turning gag.
But then, this film, it gives me a very physical reaction, which is the feeling that I need to scream, which is, I think, a different way of, letting out your emotions when you're watching a film. So what was the question again? I don't know how I got there.
How it generated your love for film? How it kickstarted this kind of passion as well?
Having the sensation of being able to let out an emotion is, I think, a reason why a lot of us watch film. And I think I learned that watching Twilight. But I'm also curious to know, this was nostalgic for a lot of us, but is there people who watched this movie for the first time this night?
Hey.
Work.
Nice.
Yes.
First impressions. Yeah, let's go.
Hi.
Hey.
So for me,
What's your name?
Fabien. Sorry.
Hello, Fabian.
So for me, it feels really weird because I loved it, but I feel like I love it for the wrong reason, and I feel guilty because I feel like I'm betraying the directors and the writers at the same time because
Wow.
I'm not loving it for the right reason.
Guilt is
you
a
know?
strong emotion.
I love the entire film, so yeah, it feels bad, and also I wonder what I would have felt like watching this movie when I was 14 when it came out. So yeah, I feel like I missed out.
What do you think were the wrong reasons? Why did you love it though?
The cringe, yeah, and all the acting feels like off and wrong, and at the same time very right. Like
Yes.
it's very
It's
weird.
very
It's not
special.
something you see these days. I feel like like you said, it's a time capsule. Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
Thank you, Fabian.
There are times, I agree, where it is almost like looking at Tommy Wiseau's The Room, where you think like, why do you make it that way?
It almost has the same audience participation.
Oh
as
yeah,
well.
yeah, no,
we
that-
could
I was
make
amazed
this-
by that. Yeah,
We could make this a tradition if you want. We could do
Yeah.
this like every year.
but then we're gonna do quote and monologues because
Yeah.
it's that was the thing that took away this time. It is like the most frigid film ever.
Yeah.
Like
It's a
your
constipated.
girlfriend said to go. It's a Mormon's wet dream,
Yeah.
but then without the wet dream. It's like the entire movie is going like, I need to have sex with this woman, but express it in such a way that it's about killing her. And,
and also still being in high school.
yeah, it's glorious. It's glorious.
Isn't that what makes the acting brilliant though as well? Because they play like they have to play this very constipated desire, and
nice. Well done.
It's not easy to get that across, but I feel like they did actually a pretty good
Yeah,
job.
I was
for
also
that.
quite surprised by how well in my
God,
memory it was a lot
Jesus.
worse. Yeah.
Well, I want
Remember,
to.
it is a lot
Okay, so we
worse.
had the first time reaction, but I want to know who's the super fan, who's seen this film? Like, there we have it. Yeah, how many times have you seen the film?
In 2022, I've seen the film like 10 times.
Wow.
Last
Big
year?
applause for you.
What
Amazing.
happened in 2022?
I've even had like a Twilight drinking night, and I invite like all of my friends.
You do a drinking game with it?
Yeah.
How does
What's
that work?
What's the rules?
Well, I've had some like one of the rules was like if someone says monkey, you have to take a shot.
Yeah, nice.
Spider monkey.
But then I had another rule: if someone looks constipated,
Hey, yeah.
but
yeah.
then everyone would get really fucking drunk.
Jesus,
That's
yeah,
why
you're
we
drunk in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
yeah, that's why we party on until 8 in the morning and only watch 2 movies. And I really don't know. Like, yeah, when Bella falls, another shot if Edward catches her.
Damn, this is a dangerous game.
That is a dangerous game, yeah.
I had like gummy worms because the quote, "Look, Bella, it's a worm."
Yeah.
And there's a meme of me saying, "De scène, jongens, stil de scène," because I said it in every scene because I wanted everyone to shut up because it was this scene.
Wait, which scene?
Every scene. Every
Oh,
scene.
okay,
It's
sorry.
about every scene. Well, I was doing that to Tom as well. I was like, oh, this is a pretty good scene. Oh, this is a good scene.
And then I said to you, no, my favorite scene is coming up. It's where he doesn't have a bed. Fuck, that might be my favorite scene.
Debussy.
You don't have a bed? You have so much music. What are you playing now? Debussy. Claire de Lune is pretty good. Like, what is happening? Get off the bong, Stephanie Myers.
I was forced to play the piano since I was 4, and I've always hated it, except for playing Claire de Lune because of this film.
Wait, I want to hear one thing from the Twilight drinking thing. What was it like now to see it in an audience with people with less shots?
Well, I've still had another beer.
Nice.
That's just my thing. But it was great. But like I've seen the movie so many times, so I could like quote everything, and it drove everyone insane around me.
Were you annoying the rest of the people?
And I was saying like, okay, she's gonna fall. And like 3, 2, 1, go. Yeah.
Maybe this is why I was never an Edward guy, because that was me with Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring when I was a teenager. I was a Lord of the
Right.
Rings nerd. I was never a Twilight hunk, you know. So it's maybe different pipeline. You
I
know?
guess so,
I
yeah.
radicalized in a different fashion. That's for sure.
Hey, let's find out some more memories. Perhaps anybody remember what it was like to watch it for the first time?
Yeah, who wants
back
to
when it
share?
came
Yeah,
out?
who wants to share a powerful Twilight story?
Look at the enthusiasm
Yeah,
there.
I love that.
I can't even explain to you how much I stan this movie.
Nice.
Like, I made a Twilight fan club after watching it for the first time.
Wow.
Oh my God.
2 members. Like, it was a big deal.
Nice.
To me, at least. So this is like an amazing experience. I've never seen it in theaters. So
You
I'm
feel
like,
vindicated now.
no,
or-
this is like the moment. This is the moment. I was too young to watch in cinema, but now I'm here.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
So
Congrats.
This is
a
big.
healing moment.
No, this is healing. This
Yes.
is like my inner child screaming.
Yes.
Freaking out, but
Anybody else that remembers watching it for the first time that would like to share?
There's
so,
one-
there's so
there's one-
many
there's
people
two in the front.
being
Yeah.
constipated now. Constipated desire to say something.
Wait. Elliot almost falling like Bella.
Yeah, hey.
I watched it for the first time during the pandemic or
Hey.
right before. So the next 2.5 years were essentially nonstop Twilight marathon. New Moon, Breaking Dawn, Eclipse 1 and 2. And this used to be my housemate during that time. So I would just come out of my room with a new theory every couple days with no introduction and just be like, when they were standing in the rain, like, no, we're talking about Twilight now. Just start talking. And she immediately knew what I was going on about. And she was there because she's an original fan. So
Wow.
it was
Wow.
nice to experience it from scratch so late in the game.
Nice.
And
Cool.
what kind of theories did you develop?
I don't even remember. It's very, very strange moment for all of us.
You know how you kind of went crazy during like 1.5 years in the pandemic?
Yeah.
Imagine watching this film for the first time and then, no joke, watching it every single day afterwards for months. That was what was happening here. But I used to have it on DVD, so I watched it every single week after I first got into it. So it was like, so when he says spider monkey, and I'm like, I want to hear this. Hit me with the theory, but they were very scatterbrained, so I can't.
And sometimes not even the full movie, just like 20 to 30 minutes, depending on the day, depending on the scene. Just a little shot. Yeah.
Like cinematic safe space. That's
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, it was great.
So the first time I saw Twilight, I'd already read the books, and I like saved up my little pennies to buy the DVD for the first film. Like I was so excited, and I brought it to my grandma's house, and I put it
I
on.
like where this is going.
No, and my grandma, like she's not really like pro TV. Like she's very much like 15 minutes is enough. And I watched the film, and it was about to be the scene where they were gonna kiss for the first time, and she was like, "It's enough TV for the day."
Oh my god.
And I couldn't finish. I had to watch it the next day.
This reminds me of the time when I played a Nirvana CD for my grandfather, and he was like looking at me like, "This boy is sick." You shouldn't do that stuff with your grandparents. They would never understand.
Oh, she wasn't watching it with me, and she didn't know what she was.
There was just a timer that
It
went
was
off.
the timer.
Oh
Like
my
she
God.
didn't know. Like she just entered the room. I knew what was coming, and then she was like, "No, it's enough."
Right,
That's
right, right,
that's
right,
cruel.
right,
That's
right,
cruel.
right, right, right.
Ugh.
I wonder, no? Like I said earlier before we watched the film that I realize now in retrospect that a large part of my life has been influenced by this film. Does anyone have that as well? Or yes.
It's not influence, but I just suddenly realized how much this is a movie for broken girls who
This is starting to
have-
become a support group.
Yes.
That's what we do here.
So it's a movie for girls who have had to do without their father.
Oh my god.
So this
This is coming
this
very
movie
close.
teaches you that you have to win your father back.
No.
And you can kind of survive it through meeting a very old man.
Oh, no, sorry.
And-
He's been 17 for a long time, okay?
and then you step on your father's heart, and that's how you grow up.
Wow. It
Wow,
was,
wow.
yes.
You step on your father's heart by saying the coldest thing a daughter has ever said to a father.
But also that moment, but I guess that's also growing up. That moment to me had never been cold as watching it as a teenager, and only now I'm realizing what she had done. Like at the time, it sounded like the most normal thing to do because you just need to get away.
Yeah, she needs to get away. So then, like, Edward can suddenly pop on in the car from next to her, like, your father will forgive you.
You mean the moment at 11 in the morning when he's at his second can of half-liter beers?
Yeah, while cleaning his shotgun. Yeah. Because that's what dads do.
Yeah, that's what dads do.
You know, there's another hand here.
Yeah, and thank you for this movie.
Thank you.
It's been a while for me to had such a good love.
Same,
and
it's cleansing.
it's also very weird to feel like that because I first watched this movie like back like over 10 years ago. By that time, I never find this movie can be so funny,
Yeah.
so hilarious. I was simping for Edward, like, and you know, like, oh my God, so cool, so handsome, blah blah blah, like that. But today, it's I and also I fell for their romance, and I want so hard to be beaten by a vampire. It's kind of inspired me. And I started my obsession with all this kind of vampire shit. And and yeah, I just today I watched this again. How these years changed me that I cannot use the same way to watch this movie, but it's still
That's nice.
amazing.
That's
Yeah, it's still
a
giving me good
Proustian film almost.
pleasure, but in a different way.
Wow.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
so nice.
Yeah. so I-
Are you here together? So you brought him.
He brought me actually.
Oh,
because
wow.
Wow.
Oh, that's commitment.
that's-
I didn't see. He saw it and he wants to watch it. I mean, why not? I love it.
This is what Twilight does.
What a great
Yeah,
date.
it brings people together. Well,
Amazing.
I wanna maybe I wanna talk a little bit about God. Like it's been a while since we had a good vampire movie though. It's like I don't know. It was so fun to see this film as well. And there's not enough of those kind of like cool, fun, sexy vampire movies. I was wondering what your favorites are post Twilight or before Twilight.
Well, I think the only other vampire movie that I would gladly rewatch is that there's one vampire movie, I forgot the name, but it's produced by Andy Warhol.
Oh, yeah.
With
Do you guys know what the name is?
With Udo Kier. Flash for Dracula? Something like that.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Which is, I would say, the complete opposite of this film. It's the saddest, least attractive Dracula that I have ever seen in my life. What's the story again? It's something very weird.
I can't remember. I only remember that Udo Kier is in it.
I think, like, all the girls are hot, and then he needs to suck the virgin's blood. But
That sounds
then
sad, man. Awful.
Shit, I can't remember.
What
Sorry,
is it
this
with
is not a very
vampires
good.
and sex? Like, well, like I mentioned Buffy the Vampire Slayer. But mentioned Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I only remember like the sexy Spike and what was her name? Can't remember. God, I'm
We
old.
just can't remember shit.
I can't remember shit.
Cool,
yeah.
cool story.
I'm too old. It was the Spanish influenza. I remember when I became a vampire.
There's this movie by Claire Denis, Trouble Every Day, which is, to be honest, the best title for a vampire movie, Trouble Every Day. It has one of the most like bloody, like gnarly scenes where there's like a woman and she's kind of like shot in a house. It's a crazy scene, actually. She's like boarded up in a house because she's like a vampire, but she just ate somebody. So she's like completely covered in gore. And it's filthy. It's like dirty, but she's like, it is so sensual because Claire Denis, she's like this big French art house director. She made a film with Robert Pattinson, High Life. Sorry.
We can leave the room if you want.
I'm just like spitting, but she's like she finds a way to have that erotically charged aspect of the vampire and put it in like such a grimy, realistic, aesthetic setting that it's like at the one hand it's one of the most like alluring, beautiful things, and it's insanely terrifying. So that one really got me. It's like maybe Twilight for grown-ups. I don't know. Maybe who knows?
Maybe we should screen sometime.
Yeah, who knows?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Now we're only screening vampire movies from now on. By the way, actually, while we're on the subject, who now wants me to screen the other ones as well?
Oi.
Yes,
Oh my god.
that's what I thought.
This is gonna be a series now.
This is gonna be so. How long will that marathon be then?
It's
They're all 2
5
hours, right?
films.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are other ones.
I think we can book plenty of people to give an introduction
Whoa,
as well.
yeah.
For sure.
Oh, live commentary. I like
wow.
that.
I think we already have a few people in the audience who could do that for
Yeah.
us.
You know, back in the silent film days, you would have like people in the cinema and they would explain in real life what's happening in front of the cinema. Maybe we can do that. Like turn the audio a bit
Hugo
lower.
was also born
and then,
during the Spanish
like, and then we're just
influenza.
like, yeah, I'm also born like or died during this or like become a vampire. Like back in 1918, we would screen movies and people would talk in like during the movies. Maybe we can do that. It's actually a pretty good idea.
This proof that we need a quote along. I mean, I was whispering in your ear when they were kissing, and the winner for MTV's Best Kiss goes to. Does anybody actually know if they won Best Kiss for that kiss?
Nice. For every movie.
Did they win
yes.
for every movie?
Wow.
Wow. Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Like, before we wrap up, can we just acknowledge how fantastic it is to see Kirsten Stewart and Robert Pattinson, like, play, like, you called it, like, what was it? Weird acting or almost good acting or not quite good acting? But they were actually, like, pretty brilliant. And how insane is it that Kirsten Stewart now, in 1 month, will be the president of the jury of the Berlinale Film Festival. She's like one of the youngest people to ever be the jury of one of the most prestigious film festivals in the world. How amazing that Robert Pattinson played in some of the craziest fucking movies that we've seen in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
This was truly like two icons.
Yeah.
I
think it's, I wasn't at the interview that you guys did with Catherine Hardwicke. And for those of you who haven't listened to it, I really recommend it because she's she very passionately and deeply goes into the preparations that she did with Robert Pattinson and Kristen Stewart on how their chemistry would flourish on screen. And it's really interesting to listen to how she, I don't know, well, she also just made that relationship happen. So I don't know, it's really fun to listen to. So I recommend that.
So maybe if there's like final remarks or questions or like things that people want to put out, that's like now's a good moment.
Now it's time to share.
I was thinking about like the question of what kind of good vampire movies we have today.
Yeah.
And I was thinking maybe in some weird way we can see bones and all. It's like
Oh yeah.
it's like
Right.
cannibalism, and I feel like that has the same like relationship between like this very dangerous element of something not quite human, but at the same time that very endearing love story, just like Twilight.
Yeah, you're
Maybe
very
in a
right.
less cringe way, but yeah.
Oh, I bet that he has seen Twilight in preparation for Bones and all. Has to.
Twilight Marathon.
Yeah.
And I mean, like Timothée Chalamet Ding Dong is the Robert Pattinson of our time in a
Definitely.
way.
He
yeah.
wish.
Yeah,
I'm
no, okay,
sorry,
yeah,
he wish.
sure,
Come
sure,
on,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
Come on. Final thoughts, remarks. Oh, when is the next one? Yeah, well, then we'll have to side-eye Tom here a little bit.
Are we then also going to report a podcast for that one?
Oh my god. Like so the whole podcast would just evolve into a Twilight podcast. That would be a nice character arc for us.
Maybe
yeah.
there's a market there.
Email Tom at lab111.com as much as you can. He will like that, and I'm sure we will make it happen. Right, Tom?
I am a masochistic lion.
Okay, so before we end tonight, I wanted to touch upon fanfic. Has any of you, like, you had the fan club, did you also write fanfic? Okay. Was there anybody that wrote Twilight fanfic? So I wanted to touch upon it because it's an integral aspect of the Twilight culture, is the fanfic. And I think I don't want to do, for the Dutch people, a Rode Oortjes thing because there's a different space for that. But I thought it was very funny to browse to like Twilight fanfic, and I have written I wanted to say I've read the.
This is so what I hoped.
I've read the 50 Shades of Grey books. If I would have written them, I would not be sitting here because I would be filthy rich. But I've read them, and there were a confounding experience as well. But I wanted to leave you with one fanfic, but I also wanted to make it safe for work. So I found one that I thought was good for everybody, also because it's not long. And you might not like it because it's controversial. It's called Why Sonic the Hedgehog is Better Than Edward Cullen. It's bracketed in 3 points. Power. Sonic is much stronger than Edward. I bet if Sonic were human, he'd have an 8-pack from all the running he does. Edward has no special transformations, yet Sonic has several. Sonic's transformations are really good and make Sonic stronger, quicker, and possibly smarter. Edward can run pretty fast, I'll give him that, but Sonic can run faster than the speed of sound, and in Sonic X, it is mentioned quite a few Sonic can run at the speed of sound. There's no proof Edward can run that fast. If you disagree with this, comment. Looks. This is controversial.
Yes.
There are lots of people who say Edward is good looking. Mm-hmm. Personally, I don't agree. Sonic is much better looking than some vampire. Yes, I know Sonic's a hedgehog. For starters, Sonic is blue. Blue is one of the best colors in the world. And yet, Edward is, well, normal. How boring. Secondly, I think Sonic's eyes are just better. I'm no fan of Twilight, so I don't know what Edward's eye color is. Doesn't it change when he turns into a vampire? ? But I am positive no one can get better eyes than Sonic. Also, Sonic's hair, I mean, seriously, it's so cool. What they do, this is the last point, then I'll leave you. This is in all caps. Sonic saves the freaking world every day while Edward just protects Bella. I know Edward does more than that, but I don't think he's as heroic as Sonic. Sonic is a hero. Without him, many people would die and the world would be taken over by Eggman. Edward just protects Bella. Maybe save few people once or something, but Sonic risks his life for anyone and everyone. Plus, a good thing about Sonic is that he doesn't have to control himself not to hurt anyone. He doesn't have to hide from himself as well. Well, that was why Sonic was better than Edward. Okay, let's credit the author.
By Hugo Emmersaal.
Wait, where's the name of the writer? Oh, by Sonic's Little Angel. Twilight fanfic, it exists. There's a huge economic pipeline behind it, but look it up online. It's a marvelous world out there. We're like only grasping the surface here.
Wait, did you write this fanfic?
Maybe I did. Maybe I did. But in New Moon, Edward takes off his shirt and he has like this beautiful six-pack. But actually it's drawn on because Robert Pattinson refused to work out, just like in Batman. So Sonic the Hedgehog had like an 8-pack, but it was all natural.
Wow.
And Edward had a drawn-on six-pack.
See, there you have it.
My respect for Sonic the Hedgehog is really going up
the
now.
proof is in the motherfucking pudding.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying.
Before we close this podcast, we'd like to just remind you to have a listen to the Catherine Hardwicke interview, and that's available on all your platforms. And as I said before, if you share, follow, leave a review, we get bigger guests. The bigger we get, hopefully we're going to get our Pat sometime soon and Kristen Stewart. Who knows?
Wow, you're threatening us with a good time. Yeah, come on. No.
But we'd like to thank you very much. We hope you enjoyed it. You'll be able to listen back to this episode probably next week. And yeah, this is Celebrating Cinema.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
It was so
being
much
here.
fun. Thank you for being here with us.